Hi students, we have learned in chapter 9 that all living things require air. But have you ever seen air? You might not have seen air, but surely you must have felt its presence in so many ways. You notice it when the leaves of the trees rustle, or the clothes hanging on the clothesline sway. The pages of an open book begin fluttering when the fan is switched on. The moving air makes it possible for you to fly your kite. Then in chapter 3, you have learned the winnowing method is done with the help of air. You may have noticed that during storms, the wind blows at a very high speed. It may even uproot trees and blow off their rooftops. So, today we are going to study about the air around us. Let us make a firki of our own. Hold the stick of the firki and place it in different directions in an open area. Move it a little back and forth. Observe what happens. Does the firki rotate? What makes a firki rotate? Moving air, isn't it? Have you seen a weathercock? It shows the direction in which the air is moving at that place. Okay, let's study the air everywhere around us. Close your fist. What do you have in it? Nothing. So let us see with the help of an experiment. Take an empty open bottle. Is it really empty or does it have something inside? Turn it upside down. Is something inside it now? Now, dip the open mouth of the bottle into the bucket filled with water as shown in the figure. Observe the bottle. Does water enter the bottle? Now tilt the bottle slightly. Do you see bubbles coming out of the bottle or hear any bubbly sound? Can you now guess what was in the bottle? Yes, you are right. It is air that was present in the bottle. The bottle was not empty at all. In fact, it was filled completely with air even when you turned it upside down. That's why we notice that water does not enter the bottle when it is pushed in an inverted position, as there was no space for air to escape. When the bottle was tilted, the air was able to come out in the form of bubbles, and water filled up the empty space that the air has occupied. So it shows that air occupies space. It fills all the space in the bottle. It is present everywhere around us. Air has no color and no one can see through it. It is transparent. So, what are the properties of air? It has no color, it is transparent, nobody can see also. But we can see through it. Our earth is surrounded by a thin layer of air. This layer extends up to many kilometers above the surface of the earth and is called atmosphere. As we move higher in the atmosphere, the air gets rarer. Now, can you think why mountaineers carry oxygen cylinders with them? Because at the high altitude, the oxygen content is less. So, let's see what is air made up of. The air consists of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other gases. So, nitrogen is 78%, oxygen 21%, carbon dioxide 0.04%. The left will be the other gases. So, now let's see one by one how we can come to know that this oxygen and other gases are present in the air. So, the first one we'll see the oxygen. In the present, take two small candles of the same length on the table. Light both the candles. Cover one of the candles with an inverted glass tumbler. Observe both the candles carefully. Do both the candles continue to burn or go off? We must have observed that the candle covered with the glass tumbler got extinguished after some time, whereas the other candle continued burning. So, what can be the reason for this? It seems that the candle got extinguished because the component inside the glass tumbler which supports burning is limited. Means very less amount of some gas is there in the glass. So it is burst, otherwise it is extinguished. Most of the component is used up by the burning candles. However, the other candle is getting continued supply of air. This component of air which supports burning is known as oxygen. Now the next one, let's see, water vapor. You have learned earlier that air contains water vapor. We also saw that when air comes in contact with the cool surface, it condenses. So here in the glass, the ice cubes are kept. If you see outside, the water droplets are there. This is because the water vapor which is outside the glass get condenses and then it is become water droplets. So we can say the presence of water vapor in air is important for the water cycle in nature. Now the next one is nitrogen. In activity 3, that means the air is still present in the glass bottle even after the candle blew out. This indicates the presence of some component in the air which does not support burning. The major part of the air which does not support burning is nitrogen. So already I told you the nitrogen is 78%. The major part of the air is nitrogen. The next one is carbon dioxide. In a closed room, if there is some material that is burning, you may have felt suffocation. This is due to excess of carbon dioxide that may be accumulating in the room as the burning continues. Carbon dioxide makes up a small component of the air around us. The plants and animals consume oxygen for respiration and produce carbon dioxide. Plant and animal matter also consumes oxygen on burning and produces mainly carbon dioxide and a few other gases. So it is advisable not to burn dry leaves and discarded remains of the crop which pollute our surroundings. The next one, the dust and smoke. If you see through a door, a slit in the door, otherwise small opening, you can see the dust particles are floating in the air. So the burning of fuel also produces smoke. So the smoke contains a few gases and fine dust particles and is often harmful. That is why we see long chimneys in factories. This takes the harmful smoke and gases away from our noses but brings it closer to the birds flying up in the sky. So, what all is present in the air? Oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, dust, and smoke. So, here in the dark room, if you open the door for window facing the sun, just little in such a way that it allows sunlight to enter the room only through a slit. This shows that air also contains dust particles. We inhale air when we breathe through our nostrils. Fine hair and mucus are present inside the nose to prevent dust particles from getting into the respiratory system. So only we are advised not to breathe through our mouth. We should breathe through our nose so that it will be filtered, the hairs in the nose which filter the dust particles. So from this we have learned that air contains carbon dioxide, water vapor, nitrogen, oxygen and other gases. Now let's see, how does oxygen become available to animals and plants living in water and soil? Take some water in a glass or metal container, heat it slowly on a tripod stand. Before the water begins to boil, look carefully at the inner surface of the container. Do you see any tiny bubbles inside? These bubbles come from the air dissolved in water. When you heat the water to begin with, the air dissolved in it escapes. As you continue heating, the water itself turns into water vapor and finally begin to boil. The organisms that live in the soil also need oxygen to respire, isn't it? How do they get the air they need? Take lump of dry soil in a beaker or a glass, add water to it and note what happens. Do you see bubbles coming out from the soil? These bubbles indicate the presence of air in the soil. When the water is poured on the lump of soil, it displaces the air, which is seen in the form of bubbles. The organisms that live inside the soil and the plant roots respire in this air. A lot of burrows and holes are formed in deep soil by the animals living in the soil. These burrows also make spaces available for air to move in and out of the soil. However, when it rains heavily, water fills up all the spaces occupied by the air in the soil. So, in this situation, animals living in the soil have to come out for respiration. So, only during rainy season, the earthworms come out of the soil. Have you ever wondered why all the oxygen of the atmosphere does not get used up through the large number of organisms are consuming it? Who is refilling the oxygen in the atmosphere? Yes. In chapter 7, we read about photosynthesis. In this process, the plants make their own food and oxygen is produced along with it. The plants also consume oxygen for respiration, but they produce more of it than they consume. That is why we say plants produce oxygen. It is obvious that animals cannot live without plants. The balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is maintained through respiration in plants and animals and by the photosynthesis in plants. This shows the interdependence of plants and animals. We can now appreciate how important air is for life on earth. Are there any other uses of air? Yes. The wind makes the windmill rotate. The windmill is used to draw water from tube-wells and to run flour mills. Windmills are also used to generate electricity. Air helps in the movements of sailing yachts, gliders, parachutes, and aeroplanes. The birds, bats, and insects can fly due to the presence of air. Air also helps in the dispersal of seeds and pollen of the flowers of several plants. Most of the musical instruments are used with the help of the air, and the tires of the vehicles are filled with air. So thus the air plays an important role in the water cycle also. So children, what we have learned, air found everywhere. The moving air is called wind. Air occupies space. Air is a mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and a few other gases. The oxygen supports burning. The envelope of air that surrounds the earth is known as the atmosphere. So, this air is very much essential for our life. And the plants and animals depend on each other for exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide from air. So, children, read the lesson, and complete your textbook exercises.